For those who don't know me, I'm Lindsay Brummett. I'm Programme Director based at the Eden Project. This is sadly not the view from my office at work, but it is a view of the Eden Project behind me. Otherwise, it'd be the corner of my spare room, which seemed a bit dull. But really nice to be here. I've been looking after all of our community outreach work at Eden for some years now, which is predominantly the Big Lunch. And this year we were invited to take on the Big Help Out alongside the Big Lunch. So what we're going to talk about today is a bit of that. Has the screen come up?
No, there's just a little blue circle. Would you like me to try?
Yeah, you can do. Let me stop sharing.
I wonder whether it opened in a new screen, in which case you'd need to share the new screen.
Yeah, don't. Well, it seemed to go straight over the top and you all moved to the side. So let's have a look. If Tracy can drive, it's all fine.
Right, is that okay?
It is, yes. Brilliant. So I've introduced myself. As a bit of what we're going to walk through today, we've got a new exciting collaboration. So we're bringing together the Big Lunch and the Big Help Out, which have both been very, very successful social impact events run independently by different organisations in the past, driving towards typically the same weekend, the first weekend in June. And what we're doing is bringing those together into a single campaign that we'd love to be able to drive awareness of. But the main thing we want is for people to participate. So we really want to create that feeling of FOMO, fear of missing out, across the UK and inspire people everywhere to join the fun and be part of it. And I kind of think there's a tone to all of this where what we're trying to do here is bring people together and explore new and exciting ways to get involved in the voluntary sector and in supporting communities. So it ought to be a joyous thing. So that's the sort of tone we're going to go in with and what we're hopefully going to be igniting across the country as we go into the campaign. So today we'll just talk through a little bit about Eden Project, who we are, and so on the organisation who's in the hot seat driving the campaign, a bit about expectations and outcomes from the campaign. Obviously you guys are here and a part of the story of why we can't do this alone. We really want to do this with people and get as much support as we can. And then I'm going to hand over to Tracy and Sam, who'll talk a little bit about their own journey and then on into a bit of background and impact into the Big Lunch and the Big Help Out, a bit about motivation and opportunity should be up higher because that's that's the bit about why they started in this sector. And then Sam's going to talk through all the different ways in which you can join in, and then we'll wrap up at the end with how you can stay in touch with us. So show of hands, has anybody been to the Eden Project before? One or two, yeah, nice. Well, if you haven't, don't worry, it's not going anywhere, so there's still time to visit. But our mission as the Eden Project is to demonstrate and inspire positive action for the planet, and we do that in all sorts of different ways. So the site you can see in this picture is our Eden Project Cornwall site. It's a kind of public education centre really, but for those who come on holiday to Cornwall, it's a great day out. And what we hope is that people will come into that site and recognise some of the challenges that we face as a planet and understand the story of how we live with nature better. So Eden Project in Cornwall focuses on the story of plants and people and our dependence on plants. And so this is one of the ways in which we demonstrate the work that we can do, because Eden is built in a disused mine, clay mine, and now we've turned it into a beautiful global garden where people can explore their connection with nature. We have another site which will be opening in a couple of years' time in Morecambe, which will explore rhythms of the world, the seasons, the day and night, tides, those kind of rhythms of the earth and how we're out of step with things. And the way that we work with communities is similar. So we work with communities because we believe that they can help us to take small steps that make a big difference, that by working with communities we can build hope and agency so people can do what they want where they live and make a real difference to people. So we're a national charity, and we have this track record because of that amazing site at Eden in Cornwall, a track record of delivering transformational and sustainable solutions to some of the big problems. And the Big Lunch is one of those things that we've run for many, many years. that does that kind of thing by bringing people together and inviting the nation to just come together and have lunch on one weekend of the year. People come together and recognise that there's more that they can do in their area. They feel less lonely, they feel more connected to where they live, a greater sense of belonging, and through those connections they often go on to do other things. So all of the work that we do, both on site and off, is part of that story where we're building up social and natural capital to help people and places to prosper. So one big do, we are bringing together the big lunch and the big help out. Some of you may have taken part before, from the 5th to the 8th of June, so that's a Friday through to a Monday. And they're teaming up and coming together, and everyone is invited. We're bringing people together to share food, to make friends and lend a hand as part of the UK's biggest celebration of community. What we want to do is bring people together and feed community spirit across the UK. And people can take part in the big lunch or the big help out, or combine the two together. What we're hoping to do by bringing those two things together is really create a big celebration of community. So we want to create the conditions that we see come off the back of the big lunch every year, where people decide they want to make change where they live, the fertile conditions on which other good things can grow. And I know with the upcoming local elections and things, we're going to go through a tricky time, I think, as the UK, where people might start to feel more divided and more concerned about what's happening in their area. And we're hoping that the big lunch and the big help out coming together will offer a really nice ray of sunshine at the start of June to bring people together and support them to do good things. So at its simplest, we're going to drive a campaign which will invite people across the UK to come together in a nationwide act of community friendship and social action with the big lunch and the big help out. We also want that interaction to make sure that it delivers positive benefits for people who take part. So every year our big lunch research tells us that it helps people feel less lonely, people make friends, and the big help out is no different. We want to increase community spirit and feelings of belonging because we know that those things matter for people and make a difference to people where they live. And it also helps to increase the likelihood of people to engage in community action and volunteering in future, because that's one of the things that's really important to us, is hopefully creating a new front door and a new window into the volunteer sector, so people can have a go at something in a really light-hearted, light touch way, and then hopefully come back and do more. And the other thing which the big lunch has been used for in the past, but is optional for people taking part, is to raise money for something they care about. And lots of money, around £10 million a year, is raised for good causes through people holding big lunches, and they can be used to fundraise for any cause. So although the Eden Project is a charity, it doesn't have to raise money for the Eden Project. We also want to increase the profile of volunteering, and that's all kinds of volunteering, so informal, formal and skills-based. And the big lunch is a really great example of lots and lots of people coming together and informally volunteering to bring their neighbours together. So when we were approached about the big help out, actually there's really natural fit between the big lunch, big help out, volunteers and engagement in the community. We want to work with organisations, and that includes all of you on the call, to help make joining in as easy, as accessible and as inclusive as we can. So we want to reduce the barriers to people who might want to get involved with their community, might want to try volunteering, but maybe don't have the ability to commit to, a day a week for a long period of time. And so this big help out opportunity presents something which can give them a taster day, a really easy way that they can try volunteering and find out whether it's for them, and find charities and organisations that they might want to work with. We also want to provide an easy, accessible way to offer for charities and volunteer organisations, and to access for those people and employers who want to, ways to join in. And so we'll talk a little bit more about a platform which you might have seen before in big help out campaigns, and how you can register with that platform and put opportunities on there to invite people in and find out more about your organisation. And we also want to, through that platform, support the adoption of open data sharing, with the view that that should widen access to and participation in volunteering community actions. So by having one front door, which can hopefully showcase a really, really wide range of volunteering opportunities across the whole of the UK, we should be able to encourage more people to find a route in and find something that works for them. And we can't do this alone. So we really want all of you to feel like this is something that is for you. We have behind the big help out, and many of you will be aware from the years it's run before, there are 35 national charities who form up Shaping the Future with Volunteering, who are all pictured there on the right-hand side. We're also working with the Together Coalition, who ran the campaign in previous years, and they're supporting us with that campaign development, and their coalition of members will be joining in. We obviously want to work with the voluntary sector, the charity sector, and all the infrastructure bodies to make this as easy and as broad and wide-reaching as possible. The GoVo platform, which is run by RVS, so we have gone through a tender process and selected from the applications GoVo as the platform on which we will use as the front door to those more formal opportunities where somebody might want to register, or where somebody might want to go on a taster day with a national charity. But there will also be lots of self-led ways that people can participate. So yeah, you can add something to that platform if you want to for that weekend. You don't have to integrate with it fully forever, but it will act as our shop window into for people coming into the website to find out more. The youth sector is another one. Business sector, we're running some big events this coming spring, which we hope to have support from Anthropy, Business in the Community, and the Co-op. The Royal Households have stepped in to say that they are really interested in supporting some of these events, and I have a meeting with the BBC next week to talk about a partnership with them. So hopefully there'll be lots and lots of joy and noise about the campaign out there, and it will shine a light into the work that we're all doing across the sector, and hopefully give us an opportunity to invite more people in. I think that was my last slide, so I'm going to hand over to you and Sam.
Yes, thank you. I will stop sharing. So Sam and I thought we'd just have a little, a chat with you. If Emily could pin us, that might be nice for the video, and I'll hand over to Sam. She can
It might be nice for the video, but it sure won't be nice for me. A giant Sam in front of your eyes. Yeah, thank you. It's lovely to be here with everybody today. Thank you for having us. When we're planning something like the Big Do weekend, it can be really hard to imagine what impact just one weekend can have on, a lifelong of people's lives, especially when people like you and the people that you're working with are doing this day in, day out, all year round, and supporting people every day. So we thought it'd be good to think back and remember how and why we ever started volunteering in our own communities, and the conditions that were there right at that very beginning in order to take us over the line and step us into that. And for me personally, it was around, I was a first-time mum, very lonely parent at the time, and found myself doom scrolling through Facebook. Yes, Facebook was there even that many years ago. I'm old enough to have that in my life. And up popped an opportunity for an organisation. I'd never volunteered ever before in my community. And it was an opportunity for people looking for volunteers to deliver leaflets to advertise an event that was happening later in a couple of weeks' time. It was a transition event. I'd never even heard of transition at that time. So it was just the right time and the right place for me. So I just jumped on that and just said, yeah, I'm walking this baby around time and time again every day. I'll deliver them around my estate. So that was the very first thing. And when I look at what it was that I suppose took me over the front door of that, I wasn't necessarily looking for something at that time. It was just the right time and the right place, and it popped up. I wasn't your typical demographic volunteer. I was a youngish mum. But the opportunity was there. It was impulsive. There was some energy around it because it was needed that week, and the event was happening the following week. So it was kind of celebratory and had some kind of energy around it. It was time focused. It was a really small ask of me, yet being part of something bigger. And then that was not all. So I did it and didn't think much more about it. And then a few days later, the person that put that post on knocked on my door and handed me some flowers to say thank you. And it was that single most point that made me feel amazing, made me feel like I belonged in the community. And it was that very thing alone that made me carry on and work in my community. And Tracy, you've got a similar but different story, haven't you?
Yeah, slightly. I was just reminiscing with Rich about the days of Leeds. So if we transport right back to the 90s, and I did not have a phone, and I did not have Facebook, and I did not have a telly. So there was no way of reaching me, and I was an isolated single parent on a council estate in Leeds. And I built up some courage to go to an adult education centre where the youth and community worker reached out to me and invited me to go to a toddler group and then to something else and something else. And actually, I didn't go like Sam with any intention of volunteering, but I went because I finally felt welcome somewhere and invited. I didn't feel single parents were scapegoated in the 90s. I didn't feel like that scapegoat. And then I got this sense of belonging, and I guess they believed in me, and I started volunteering, and I actually volunteered for 9 years with the Upsolon Centre, and they paid for me to do my youth and community course, which saw me to where I am today. But I was also fortunate enough to get a job with Joseph Rowntree Foundation, and I did their neighbourhood approaches to loneliness in York, and that was a participatory research programme with local people. And in each one of those areas, the key thing was connection. People didn't know the languages that their neighbours spoke. There were clans in rural villages. There were lots of different things. And I used the big lunch to bring different people together. That was before I even worked there. And then I really liked being on the preventative side of that loneliness and stalked Eden until I found a job that I could do. And I think what's wonderful for me is I actually see I'm reaffirmed every day in such a heavy world that there are people out there, just ordinary people making a difference where they live. And that's what gives me hope. And this is why I do what I do. So that's me and Sam. So we wondered if anybody wanted to share or think back and recall what was the tipping point that made you come into this sector? What was it? A welcome? Was it a thank you? Was it your experience? Did it save you? Did it become a second home? Or did you just want to be someone who made a difference? Or it might be many other reasons. And if anybody would like to share, that would be wonderful. Have we thought of anything?
I can go.
Oh, I thought Caroline was going to come off then. Thank you.
Oh, Caroline, do you want to go first?
I can do. 'Cause it feels like a long time ago. But it was more actually for work. I'd started work and I was got various temping jobs with big businesses. And I thought, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. So I studied languages. Somebody told me about a job at a charity called War and Want. I applied for it and I got it. And that was my introduction to the voluntary sector. I had no previous experience at all properly doing any kind of activity that involved being paid or unpaid in the voluntary sector. But I've been here ever since. I do plenty of volunteering. But I'm fortunate that I actually get paid for what I do. And then I moved, so I was working in overseas development. So I've had the privilege to visit a lot of developing countries. I've had the privilege of being part of a European network of on women in development back in the 1990s. And then we moved back with my family. I moved back to where I am now in Hampshire. The jobs in the international development are not so easy to find, so I ended up working I ended up applying to Heart Voluntary Action, where I've been working for nearly the last 18 years or so. having had contact with a CVS in London, Islington Voluntary Action, so I understood kind of what they did, and it's just been amazing because you're kind of doing community development work, we're doing community development work as well. It's just, how do you bring people together and make things happen? I just love that part of the job. And meeting so many different people as well. Just there's always things bringing up. People always wanting to find solutions. They see a situation, they want a solution because they want to see something happening in their community. And we're just seeing that all the time. You know, we try to keep up with everything that's going on in our local area. But people are always creating new groups, and I have to go now. But it's great because I can go and go, well, who are you? Because that's part of my job. So yeah, it's hard to sort of talk about experience when I wasn't working in this sector, because that's made up most of my working life.
But it sounds really inspirational, really lovely. Thank you. Rich, did you want to go?
So I've been involved in radical street community music since I was about 16. And that's always been my volunteer life. It's been my community life. So I go and play on street corners with a band, and we spread a bit of joy, and that's brilliant. I fell into working in the VCSE, so I graduated in 1998 when things could only get better, and I had no plan, and I got an admin job for a housing association, and within 2 years I'd realised that doing that work was for me, and became a community development worker. Actually, Tracy, round the corner from you. And then I was off and running, and I found local infrastructure after a change of career, and I've been working local infrastructure for 10 years, and I absolutely believe that NAVCA members hold together that local, the kind of things you were describing, like Tracy, of those kind of that local action. It happens through and with our members.
And I don't want to force anyone else to share, but thank you for sharing. If anybody wants to put anything else in the chat, but I think this is what we want to hold on to when the world gets a little thing. But you know, the reason we do this, and actually I always go, I'm known for being quite passionate, or some might say emotive in some meetings, but I think we'll find we're all passionate about what we're doing. You know, so which is why we need to pull that passion together, and create as many choices, opportunities, because I think it's a lot harder for people to get involved as it was when I was in the 90s, back in the day. Right, we'll go back to the presentation now, but thank you so much for joining us on that bit. And I am going to share this. So we'll get off the lovely me and Sam. So I wanted to talk a little bit about our work and why we do it. And I guess I just wanted to share with you the importance for us that our work is grounding. Our work is grounded in that connection with each other. So we really believe in that connection with each other and that connection with nature. And I think it's really crucial that we find opportunities, give people permission, find ways to improve that ability to connect and look after each other and the world we live in. So when we talk about nature, I am part of nature. I'm not apart from it. When we talk about sustainability, we talk about humans within that. We're not othering from that cycle. And I think we see our work as helping give people that sense of agency when the issues are huge, that actually everyone can feel a little bit of hope and everybody could do a little bit of something where they live. And we genuinely believe in that power of community. I will say I'm a product of community development, do you know, and I wouldn't be where I was without it. And that is the opportunity I want to give to so many. And that needs growing. And it's growing huge. Communities face multiple challenges today on that individual, community, societal, even on a country level. We've got the cost of living crisis, increased polarisation, rising hate crime. loneliness, mental health, the hollowing of our high streets. We've lost those bumping in places and those meeting places that we used to have in our communities. And our communities feel even more fractured and at risk. So now we have to work even harder to bring people together and encourage that positive action, because it really does feel like it's going against the tide. This is our little toolkit. We do a few other things, but these are some of the things we do. So basically, we design and deliver interventions that help hopefully engage individuals and communities and groups and excite people to take those small steps that make a big difference. And the Big Lunch is our flagship. It's all about bringing people together to share food, friendship, and fun. It's about creating a shared moment, shared memories, a sense of fun and occasion. And the sharing of food is really vital in that, because everybody has something to bring to the table, even if it's the chair or the music rich. I know who to call on next time. But also it makes people connect and share their resources and come up with ideas that generates that positive change that we see each year. And now we have the big help out, and that's bringing lots of people together to lend a hand and to share those skills and support for good causes. You know, we really want to help create this as the biggest volunteering weekend in June, and that's informal and formal volunteering. And we think if we can all work together to remove the barriers or make really low thresholds for people to come in, then we can grow that volunteering, grow people's belief in themselves and their agency. And then after that, we have the month of community, which is 13 or so charities and causes and awareness raising days throughout June that we have come together to collaborate for the good. So bringing together all those good causes around community, and some raise money and some encourage community action. So, you know, you might do something for Refugee Week. Our research shows that if you do something, bring together something even once a year, it will have a lasting impact. And then we have a community outreach team, and we do community events, and we have a network. So we continue to build people's skills and confidence, hopefully taking them on a community action journey right across all nations within the UK. So bringing people together, bringing organisations, groups at that community level, hopefully to make good things happen. And I really feel the time is now, and actually this joint campaign, and as Lindsay said, we did deliberate, shall we, shan't we, shall we, shan't we? But actually, it does give us a great opportunity to grow those community connections and cohesion. There's nothing like working by side with somebody, side by side, to get to know someone. It will boost that community action and volunteering across the UK charities. Hopefully it will raise funds for good causes, grow that community friendship, allyship and understanding, build that social capital and reduce loneliness and isolation, which is a real passion with me, alongside reconnecting us with each other and nature. So just a quick snapshot of the Big Lunch at a glance. So this is our 18th year, so we can buy a drink. Anybody can get us one if you wish. Last year we had 10 million people take part. We provide sort of free digital resources for organisers and ideas, and we have a map where you can list different events. And over 600,000 people volunteered their time to organise a Big Lunch in 2025, and over £10 million was raised for good causes. Now, and that money generally stays in the local area. What we see is it boosts people's well-being. It really has a positive impact on their mental health. And 3 in 4 people feel less lonely after a Big Lunch. They connect with each other. They feel they belong more to their community. They have a better understanding of people from different backgrounds. And it does spark that community action. Over 8.6 million people felt inspired to get involved in more voluntary activities. And again, over 80 people said they're more likely to take part in other community events. So it's that stepping stone. Often our stepping stones to engagement are missed out. And the same for the big help out. Now, the big help out run in 2023 and 2024. It didn't run last year, but this is its third year. And basically, it's that invitation to have a go, not just for community groups, to think of how can we do something differently to get people in, but also for individuals to go, oh, what's that going on there? I'd like to have a noser. But it's that invitation to come and have a go and look at it. And as I say, we've got the Govo platform to help with that. And it really was developed to raise the profile of volunteering and the benefit it brings to increase that engagement in volunteering across the UK. And there's some stats again from 2023, but actually 70% of people said they're more likely to volunteer in the future. And 80% of people met someone from a different background. And I think it's really important that we think about these ways of getting people to do it. So as Lindsay said, we can have one big do, the big lunch and the big help out on the 5th and 8th of June. And that is going to be a wonderful weekend to bring people together and have some fun. And then if you've still got some energy, then we've got the whole month of community with Volunteers Week, Small Charities Week, Neighbourhood Watch Week, Great Big Green Week, Loneliness Awareness Week, Carers Week, and many, many more. So I want to end with this quote, which I got from Lindsay actually, which I love, from Margaret Mead, which says, "Never doubt a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." So that is it from me. And now I'm going to hand over to Sam. I'm impressed you're still all awake. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Would you mind driving for me?
I will
Would
drive
that be
for
okay,
you.
as you've got makes sense to carry on. So yeah, I'm just going to carry on now with a little bit about how you can use being part of the weekend to help you and your organisation or the organisations that you're working with. And I think it's we were on a call last week and somebody in there said it never doesn't work. So whatever you do, whatever you decide to do that weekend, if you're able to take part, it always works. There are always good things, and Tracy touched on a lot of them in that presentation. But yeah, it never doesn't work. So what does this look like practically on the ground when we bring it all together? And there isn't just one way that you can take part, and you might already have some ideas. So first up, we've got this, I guess the most obvious one is around bringing people together in your own organisation or your own group or in organisations that you work with, and how that could really help you to boost the connections across your organisation. I think we can't underestimate the impact of how important it is to spend time together outside of work and to think about the areas across your teams where maybe teams don't get to meet with each other so often. So it might be different departments in your organisation, or it might be that a lot of you are remote working. A lot of us are these days. So is there an opportunity to bring those people together? Or it might be that you'd like to connect staff members and your volunteers. Perhaps you don't get to do that enough, or as a thank you to volunteers. All of those things mean that we're able to build easier relationships with one another. Oh, I'm trying to remove the slides myself then. I went to click the button. Strengthen relationships. So looking outside now of maybe on your doorstep of the organisation to how you can use the weekend to strengthen your relationships with your neighbours in an organisational sense. So could you invite local community groups, local organisations, maybe funders, maybe your partners, whether they're existing partners or people that you'd like to partner with in the future, and invite them to a big lunch to have a networking opportunity. Because spending that time, dedicated time with people, can really have that impact. In fact, on the same session we were on last week, somebody spoke of an example. We're at their big lunch. They had somebody in the room that later became their funder just because they had the opportunity to speak to them and showcase what they do in a completely different way to normally. Next slide, please, Tracy. Thinking about whatever your current goal or your current focus is within your organisation and how the weekend can help you actually to reach those. So I've just given some examples there for maybe if your this year's goal is to try and increase your connection to the local neighbourhood and engage more people, it's a really good opportunity to increase that social impact by holding a big do and inviting people in. It might be that it's around attracting support or new volunteers. And the Big Help Out offers that exciting time-bound opportunity that we've been talking about already for new helpers. You're not traditional sort of demographic of helpers by offering them those small step tasters. Or maybe through the big lunch by hosting an event, it means that people can come along and find out about your organisation in a low pressure, informal way, and they can find out what opportunities they have available. With fundraising, like Tracy said, many groups choose to, although we don't ask them to, many people do use the big lunch and that whole weekend as a fundraiser. So it might be something that you're already currently fundraising for, or you'd like to, or you could use it to fundraise for another local cause that would then feed back into that social impact and help you engage with your community. And then finally on this one, whatever your primary mission is, or the mission of the organisations that you work with, it gives us a chance to weave that message in a really new way over that weekend. So I've used here a sustainability example, where an organisation in Chepstow, local to me, used it to raise the idea about sustainability by having a plastic-free picnic big lunch. So they're getting their mission across, but in a completely new way to an audience. And I know that Scouts use it for their citizenship badges and help to use that weekend for that. And when I worked for an organisation supported adults with learning disabilities, we used the weekend to help people connect with their community, but took the logo off so that it enabled people to gel with one another on a completely level field. Next slide, please. If not hosting yourself, it's an opportunity for lifting spirits or morale amongst your team members across that weekend. And so you could think about ways in which you could motivate and support and encourage people to do that. It might be encouraging them to hold their big lunch, or volunteering or attending at somebody else's big lunch. It could be helping out at a local help out event, or it could be yourself. Don't forget yourself, bringing your own neighbours together and volunteering where you live. And how you can make that easy for people to do that. So at Eden, we're really fortunate in that we're given the time to be able to go and hold our own big lunches where we live, because we recognise how important and how passionate we are about that. Next slide. Following on from that, it could be a really great team building opportunity if you could gather your team together to go and help volunteer some time together at a local big lunch. For a charity or a partner, if it was something that they need doing, or maybe to spruce up a local space. This is a really new way of lifting morale, rather than your escape rooms or your army cadet get-togethers. This could be an opportunity for that team building over that weekend. And then use the fact that it is a celebration and there will be a lot of noise around this weekend to use that to gain new support. Again, I'm going to use the underestimate word, but yeah, don't underestimate the power of how putting on and being something part of something bigger in one focus space, and one gives momentum to an individual who might not have ever helped before. So there is an opportunity through the GoGo app to add opportunities of your own for people to join in with and help your organisation or those that you're working with. And I guess our advice around this is to not think about where you need people to help out at the end of someone's journey, but to think about the beginning and to trust that that process will work if you get them through the door and you know that they'll be offered a really good welcome. So we'd suggest putting things that are kind of typically outside of the box, maybe fun and interesting, paperwork free, so that it's a really low barrier entry for people. And then bringing all of this together, if you feel like that's exhausting and actually you just want to do one thing, there's one way that you could achieve all of those ideas into one. And we've thought about, a big lunch volunteer taster day or a volunteer action day where you could have a variety of things of jobs that you need doing and people could help with, like painting up fences in this case. but you could have stalls there with information about your organisation in a really informal, fun, uplifting way. They could have a behind the scenes look at what goes on where you are, and then you could have a lunch as part of that as well. And then finally, there's obviously, and of course, we'd love you to be able to share this with others and to help other people see how it could benefit them where they live. So we've got social media toolkits that we can share, downloadable resources that Tracy talked about where people can just pick up and go. And we'll be running live sessions and workshops between now and June as well. And everybody's invited to those. And then the final slide is just, yeah, an invitation really for you to join in and for you to think about what you could do. And I love this image because it kind of encapsulates what we're trying to help people feel like, that sense of belonging and that someone's got your back. And if we can all do a little bit of that, then we might just change the world.
Thank you, Sam. And I'll just do this last slide for Lindsay.
Thanks, everyone, and thanks, Sam and Tracy. We'll open up to questions in a second. But there's lots of ways you can see, hopefully, that you can take part. Hopefully, there's something that might work for you, and we would be excited to talk more about what those opportunities might look like. You can stay in touch. So this is actually a link. So when we send this deck out, you'll be able to click on that Word newsletter and sign up. But you can sign up on our website at thebiglunch.com. And we will also have a new website coming, which brings the Big Lunch and the Big Help Out together into one place. So we'll share more details on that. But the Big Lunch will point at it. So if you go to biglunch.com, you'll find everything you need. And the Govo platform will also be have a part of it embedded in that website so that people can pop their postcode in and find out what's happening near them if they come to the campaign page. That won't go live until a bit further down the line when there are some opportunities on it and so on. But if you're interested in finding out a bit more about Govo and the demo, we're having a demo session next week on Tuesday. So you can either drop your email into the chat there or contact me directly and I will forward that meeting invite on so you can find out a little bit more. And by all means, all the way through the next few months, get in touch with any questions or ideas you have and let us know what you're up to, because we love having examples that we can point media to, that we can talk about to other people to say, actually, there's some brilliant stuff going on across these organisations. And I think the best way for the Big Help Out and the Big Lunch coming together to work is if lots of people adopt it in a way that works for them in their own context, and then you talk to your own audiences about getting involved in that in your local area. And over that, there'll be this umbrella of the main campaign that's driving people's awareness and attention up about the fact that something big is happening from the 5th to the 8th of June. So that's it from us. You're welcome to get in touch with any of us. And yeah, we'd love to take any thoughts or questions if you have any.